recording.
How you doing, everybody? This is Dennis Michelson. Welcome to the science of fantasy football. Why the science of fantasy football? Well, you get a meteorologist, that's me, and a biologist, that's the professor. Together, we are going to talk about fantasy football from a scientific method basis. What does that mean in the big scheme of things? It just means that we're using statistics in a smarter way because we're letting the statistics give us the answers rather than cherry picking statistics to support something we already thought. And joining me as does each and every week because he is the fantasy professor, a real professor, retired now. It is John Bush. And John, we have entered another very, very important stage of our fantasy football season.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay.
Extreme crazy take season is
Okay.
now upon us.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
did you hear the knuckleheads that got together on a podcast recently and they said that this Cole Payton is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia
Uh,
Eagles?
I I don't even know what to say to that. I don't know. I don't know
That
Cole Payton, so I don't
yeah. So
see. I
so
don't even know who that is. So
so
Dennis,
he's a quarterback that coming into the league as a rookie from like believe North Dakota State.
okay.
And of course is a great running, throwing quarterback. Although if he was such a great running and throwing quarterback, wouldn't a Power Five conference, wouldn't an Alabama or an Ohio State or some group like that have tried to get him to play a season for them?
I would think so.
So now he lands on the Eagles. And Eagles fans, and I'm guessing this had to be an Eagles fan that first proposed this. But to suggest that a quarterback taken, he wasn't even taken in the top 5 rounds, I don't believe. I could be wrong on that. He's battling for a roster spot. The idea that he would take over and be better than Jalen Hurts this year, there is less than a 1% chance of that happening. That's quite minuscule in the scheme of things. Without an injury, I think Jalen Hurts would have to be hit by lightning in order
Okay.
for this
Who
to come
is the
to happen.
second dog there after Hurts? It
So
can't be this guy.
no, it wasn't even this guy coming into the season at
Right.
least. Okay, because if you break down the depth chart, and yes, coach speak depth charts are another topic, completely because we see so many of the higher ranked rookies that get placed, third, fourth on the depth chart because the coach, this old school mentality of coaches that where's got to earn a spot, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, but coming into the preseason, okay, they first of all they signed Andy Dalton
Yeah. Okay.
as a
There,
free agent
there's the
bring
guy.
bring him in to be the caddy. Okay. Cole
Right.
Payton was a 5th round draft pick. He's got good size, like he looks the part, but to think that he's going to take over. Tanner McKee is ahead of him right now
Oh my
on the
goodness.
depth
Okay.
chart. He was the backup last year
Hmm.
that they were so concerned about that they brought in Andy Dalton this year.
Hmm.
They figured a veteran presence would be good to have on the bench behind Hurts in case Hurts gets hurt. Andy Dalton isn't going to take over the starting role. Tanner McKee isn't going to take over, and Cole Payton is not the unless Jalen Hurts gets hit by lightning, and then and only then, if Andy Dalton goes out and absolutely sucks for 3 straight games, then and only then may they go to Cole Payton. But for somebody to suggest that he was going to win the job and should be the starting quarterback over Jalen Hurts, no, please, no, please. We've gone into extreme crazy talk season. Just stop while you're behind, because the minute you say something that outlandish, you are way behind. There's just no defending that. What's next? Is Justin Fields going to beat out Patrick Mahomes? Oh, Mahomes is healthy, but boy, we like the way Fields has been playing. So we're going to put him ahead.
Dennis, I'm
No.
deliberately just seeing what kind of ridiculousness you can come up with. So I was just waiting for something.
Or here's an even better one.
Yeah, see, I knew you had them.
How,
I knew
how
you
about
had them. I knew it was out there. Go
how
ahead.
about how about suggesting
Yeah,
that Shane Buechele
yeah.
will win the starting job for week 1 over a healthy Josh Allen in
And
Buffalo?
that's assuming Rivers won't come out of retirement
Oh,
again.
Lordy Lord. I'm telling you, folks, come on. Yes, be bold, be
I
daring with
mean,
some
you're telling me
crazy.
they're not, there are teams that don't have Rivers on the Rolodex ready.
Oh,
If it gets down to about 3 or 4 quarterbacks deep and it's not working, I'm just saying we
oh,
could have Rivers back.
there's probably people desperate enough if they got chewed up by injuries to contact Drew Brees and to
That's what
see
I'm
if he wanted
saying.
to come out of retirement. I mean, there's crazy, and then there's Peyton taking over for Hurts
Crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's reached a whole new level. But speaking of which, I think a lot of this happens because of what I like to call rookie camp inflation.
Okay. Inflation.
Inflation, because look what happens every year in fantasy football, as well as in real football. But in fantasy football, remember the guy that called Bill
Yes.
last year for Washington?
Yes.
So we started out the draft season taking him 12th, 13th, 15th round as a what if running back, right?
Mhm.
By the time draft season closed, I saw him go as early as 6th round. It reached the insanity point. This year's camp inflation story,
Mhm.
a guy that I really like a lot and I drafted a lot on my early teams. Okay. Going
Mhm.
at a great value. Anything after the 12th round, I don't have problem with reaching for anybody, as you
Mhm.
know. Deshaun Stribling
Mhm.
was going 15th round, sometimes as early as 13. I was taking him as early as 12th, 13th round
Mhm.
because he had a path to WR2. The camp inflation on him has gotten ridiculous. And at the same time, the camp inflation has been going nuts on him. They signed a guy by the name of Debo Samuel,
Yeah.
who is a good, solid veteran wide receiver.
Right.
Yet the camp inflation kept going on Stribling. He went 8-5, eighth round, middle of the eighth round in a recent draft I'm in.
He
And when,
went in our draft too, our TSA
yeah,
draft.
TSA draft, he went really early. I just, good player. Okay. I liked this kid before the NFL draft, he was on my list of wide receivers I was keeping an eye on.
Right.
Cyrus Allen wasn't on that list. He's another one that's seeing incredible campflation. When I started doing drafts, he was he was listed with a ADP of 350
Right.
at FFPC, which says that he's not even being
Drafted.
drafted
Yeah.
in any drafts.
Right. He'll be on the waiver wire.
He would have been a waiver wire guy.
Yeah.
So he's now going. He's being drafted in every single draft, and he's going in the 15th round now
Mm.
or earlier. I've seen him go in the 12th round.
Mm-mm-mm.
So do I like him? Do I think he's got potential? Yeah, I was drafting a lot of him in Dynasty because he was cheap and he's got a path to second best wide receiver on the Chiefs. So he's got an opportunity. But who else has an opportunity? Tyquan Thornton, a veteran. Xavier Worthy, healthy. And then, of course, you got Rashee Rice as the main guy,
Mm-hmm.
who's could be arrested next week.
Oh, I
With
hope
his
not.
track record, you never know what he's gonna. He could go for a little drive and end up doing 150 in a school zone next week. Um, my Chiefs better get him a permanent Uber driver. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
He'd be the perfect sponsorship with Uber. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Don't do what I did. Call Uber.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this camp inflation nonsense, here's how you take advantage of it.
Yeah.
When other people are going for that new hot rookie, lean into the veteran. Debo's a better value right
Mm-hmm.
now in
Right.
drafts as a late guy. Even Thornton or Worthy are good later picks. Worthy is going, I think, too high in
Right.
drafts. And I'm a Chiefs fan, and I think he's going too high. I think the world of Xavier Worthy as a real NFL football player because he could take the top end off of any defense,
Right.
but he's never done it in fantasy football. He's never
Right.
been consistent. 11th round, he's going. I'd take him in the 11th before I'd take Cyrus Allen.
Right.
But that's not to say that Stribling and Allen are going to be busts. They could be very well worth that value by the time season rolls around. But to put them that high,
Mm-hmm.
you're taking away all of their potential value. They were values after the 12th round. If you're taking them in the 8th and ninth round, you're
Right.
diluting all of your potential value, and they now have to hit as a WR2 or a flex on a weekly basis in order to repay their draft stock. And I don't know if their track record says that they can do that, but it does pay to keep an eye on what's going on in camp.
Yeah. So on our site, Science of Fantasy Football, I try to run these camp summaries. I have AI give me a summary readout. I just got one this morning. I've got it set, Dennis, so that Sunday morning we'll get it. And if I get a chance, I don't know, I got 50 teams to worry about, but if I maybe I'll need to do this Saturday night, but try to put it on our site so people can at least, be ready to see what Schefter and them will say about 10:30 Sunday morning or in and out. Anyway, here's the camp. So these AI folks, why would I want to go to ESPN, NFL, CBS, Team Report, Schefter, and all the beat writers and spend my time when I can click and do a few little tricks and have this come out and emailed to me, Dennis? I mean, that's what AI can help you do. And if you're doing 50 drafts, Dennis, and 50 teams, you've got to find shortcuts. So that's the good news of what AI can do. So first one is Chargers center is out. He's gone.
Yep.
And so you wonder about game scripts for Herbert. So it doesn't say that here, folks. Notice it didn't use the word game script. This is me using common sense. This is a beginning, folks. This is not the end. Just like our rankings are the beginning of you thinking. And that is never emphasized. This is me on Professor's diatribe, Dennis. Hang loose here. So you see all the noise, and here's my rankings, here's this, here's that. And it's said with the finality. Folks, it's never final till the snap. And then even during the game, things are changing. And, it's fluid, and you just need to be aware of that. So when I read this, first thing I thought of was game scripts. Okay, we have a predictive model using different metrics. Vegas is one. I'm wondering how that affects. How does Vegas feel about over unders, things first couple weeks and these kind of things? Does it take time for the replacement to catch up a little bit? So you wonder if I'm betting props, maybe I'm off a little bit. In other words, I don't believe the props now a little bit, or be more skeptical. So anyway, this is for you. I would be a little concerned about game scripts early until we see how things step up here.
We
Kamara is
and
out.
we do
Yeah,
have
go.
data on that too, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, Last year, we have we have the data to back up being concerned about an injury
Hmm.
to the offensive line when it comes
Yes.
to Herbert's production.
Hmm.
First 10 games of the
Hmm.
year last year,
Hmm.
before they started getting more and more of their offensive line guys hurt. Now they lost a tackle at the very beginning of the season,
Hmm.
before week 1, but they started losing more guys as time went on. Behind his better offensive line, you notice I didn't say best because they
Hmm.
already were down one tackle. I'm of the belief, and research needs to be done on this, but I'm of the belief that losing one offensive lineman doesn't kill you.
Hmm.
Losing two or more will
Hmm.
really change the way an offensive line looks. Herbert, first 10 games, MVP index of 100.
Nice. That's
Once
usable.
once they had three of their offensive linemen out, his last 6 games,
Hmm.
MVP index of 17.
That's dramatic, Dennis.
That is as
So can you
dramatic.
imagine if you're betting the props, how that has to change?
Oh,
Where probably Vegas is have to, they probably, uh, you know, had to change. I mean, I don't follow the Chargers props, but I would just suspect that game scripts, things were changing. Your start sets, things would be changed by that. You
yeah,
know.
and you're already paying, I don't want to say a premium
Uh-huh.
for Herbert. I mean, he's going at a price right now, late ninth round, where that's affordable, but that's not MVP of 17 affordable. Like
No, no.
I want going where he is going in the draft, and I've got a term for it now. Actually
Okay.
invented a new term.
Okay.
Um, it's ADP implied MVP index.
Yeah.
Okay, where you're getting him,
Hmm.
I need him to finish with an 85 or higher
Hmm.
in MVP index in
So a
order for him.
low QB1.
Yeah, I need 85 in order for him to pay off.
17 is not 85.
No, no, and he has not hit 85 since 2023.
Mm.
So at his ADP,
Hmm.
And I'm even being generous because I'm giving him one spot lower. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm taking the ADP that he's going at. I'm taking one quarterback slot lower, and I'm
Hmm.
saying that's the implied MVP. So I'm already being conservative.
Hmm.
He's got one of the last 4 seasons that he's hit that mark, and now he's lost his center.
Hmm.
That's concerning to me. I'm not saying that it's time to not draft Herbert, but before this injury,
Hmm.
I was not willing to necessarily pay up for Herbert. And now with more injuries coming, that makes it even harder for me to justify taking him when there might be some other options slightly early, Drake May, a couple
Hmm.
rounds earlier, or later, um, Goff, Mahomes, those kind of guys that are
Well,
going much later.
Mahomes, Stafford, and Dart.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yep,
when we look at our metrics, there's a little bit of value being told to us. The metrics are talking. Dennis,
and
I've been
yes,
doing so much research,
yes,
the metrics are talking to me now. But
well,
so what I've been doing, Dennis, is skipping on Herbert and taking some of like the guys you just mentioned, Herbert,
yes,
passing him, going for Golf, Mahomes there as my second. If I grab May, then I'm looking for one. And in fact, sometimes if I'm really having a great draft, I'm waiting even for Darnold or maybe Brissett or somebody really late to like, okay, if they're bust, I'll find somebody for that week that May is off.
yeah.
So I a lot of times if I miss on May is where some of those guys, and again, we've done the double tap
Oh yeah.
10, 11, 12, some of that area where we will, and you and I did that pretty close in the TSA. We got Mahomes, and then who was our second quarter?
I
Golf?
thought we got Golf, yeah.
Yeah,
So we
so we
got
did a
two, but
pretty soon double tap on both
yeah.
those, figuring the game scripts, the indoors with Golf. Golf has this home field thing, these indoors thing, his efficiency, those things we've paid attention to over the years, and having Amon Ra there is one of the best, by ADP. So it figured that somebody like Goff, if you miss on a really good one, which we think May is, then a Mahomes Golf or a Stafford Golf or a dart, even if you want to be aggressive, and a Golf, kind of balances out that a little bit. So we've been pulling that trick, and seeing this continues to make me want to pass Herbert and go further down for my one and two double tap, or my second if I've got May or somebody like that.
Yeah, and I've even taken Golf with May just
Oh,
what
yeah,
if he
yeah,
gets
yeah.
hurt type of thing, or Tyler Shuck,
Mhm,
with May. There
mhm.
or Baker Mayfield with May. The key
Yes,
is,
that's another one.
two late quarterbacks, you're not likely to miss on both of them.
If you can stream, Dennis, and folks listen to our matchups and some of our stuff, we're going to try to have some game script predictions and at least help you on the start set a little bit. It's not going to be in blood, but we try to help us out because Dennis and I got a lot of teams to do ourselves. So you're going to get to hear some of that during the season. Anyway, Kamara is hurt, and so ETN is his stock I think went up a little bit. I've actually wasn't drafting him at his price, and now I have on occasion if I've found myself uh, being forced into kind of a low RB scenario early because the value and just how it works out, Dennis, uh, with our metrics. Sometimes, you end up missing on some running backs, and ETN, I have taken him on occasion. He's not the best one, but there's something. It feels solid for a month or two, and then I'm hoping maybe by that time, you know, if Kamara comes back or he not may not, I don't know. But Devin Neal and some of those other ones, I start getting. Miller is another one that
Yep.
gets me of some interest, to back up my ETN shares. But I haven't been just rushing. And again, I don't want any inflation. If he goes up too high because of the Kamara news, then, I'm probably out. But wherever I've been getting him a few shares is, I felt like, it's a little overpay. It's the winner's curse, Dennis, about that level
Yeah.
here, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And
Higgins is out. Yeah.
yeah,
He, yeah, go
ETN's
ahead.
A Shane is now, he's going by his more southern Louisiana uh, roots name. So they're calling him A Chain now.
Oh
His
my goodness.
implied MVP is 80, and he's hit that in two of the last three seasons. So he's fine at value right there.
Okay. Yes. Oh, yeah. I have been taking him a lot. Higgins is out. So let's see. Tank Dell, to me, our metrics have been all over him at where he's been going. So, by the way, just to kind of slip this in, I'm more, I'm doing something new this year. It's more value than ever. I understand ability, and I've got this article that I'm thinking about putting out, Dennis, but I'm in my head balancing this, and this has been a thing out there on ability versus value. And I'm leaning value because I want to think that value must incorporate ability at some point. If Tank Dell's a value where he's going, that's because Tank Dell has some ability. I understand he got injured and whatnot. So that's been my result there. I've collected a lot of Tank Dell shares late. He's been my sixth WR. In other words, our better than zero that Dennis invented. Thank you. Uh, we try to get five or six solid WRs that we're happy with, and then we go all in on upside RBs, the ones that could have a later path with injuries and whatnot. And Dennis has given me his secret metrics there. So I've been drafting all sorts of running backs. So I may have eight running backs, maybe six WRs, maybe nine running backs and five WRs. That's probably my limit, about five. Minimum five, but I can take, if I'm taking seven, that means the draft board must have been really crazy and the value must have been nutty nuts for me to take that many. But I have on occasion.
Yeah,
And then, yeah,
Tank Dell is a great late draft pick. If he doesn't do anything or he's slow to come around, they
oh,
ever
that's
put
what
him
I'm
on top,
thinking.
he's cuttable and you can look
Yeah.
for the player you
But he's
need.
so late, you're not
Oh, he's
losing a lot
late.
of draft
His
capital paying.
his
You're
his
paying pennies for him, Dennis.
his career high MVP, and yes, it was less than 10 games played,
Yeah.
but he posted a 133 in a
That is
partial.
spectacular. We'll take a taste
Yeah,
of that at
I'll
my
yeah,
WR6.
I'll
I
take a
mean,
shot at
what do you
that.
expect in your W? I mean,
Oh
that's a
man, that's
flex. That's a flex too. I need about 4 games MVP 130. If I
oh
can
god,
get that with where I'm drafting him, then
yeah.
he's done his job on my team.
That'd
You
be
know
a
what?
home run hit if he is producing at anywhere near that level. And the I'm also thinking that this opens up the possibility that
Mhm.
I'll take Dalton Schultz late at tight end.
Yeah, that's what people have been responding to. I've noticed that shift as well.
Yeah.
And last year with Schultz, he was definitely the late tight end red zone kind of think. And I think game script would be, if I took Schultz as my second, I need to judge predictions of the game scripts for Houston this year. I haven't run that. I need to run that. But that's part of our metrics a little bit, Dennis, is that game script. That's actually built into some of our boom metrics and some of our other stuff, our secret stuff. And we've cooked that into the pie. And by the way, we've got a lot rolling this year, and a lot of my off season I already know is going to be just figuring out how we did on all our extra secret stuff, and that's going to take a while, Dennis, for me to chew through all that. So anyway, that's coming. I agree on Schultz to. And is there another WR if Tell's slow? Is that Noel or who is that?
It might be Noel, or it might be this kid that is also deeper on the roster. And I would not, I specify,
Yeah,
do not pick this guy up now in typical leagues, because we're talking simply a pull. You know, it's an emergency. More of a guy that you want to have on your roster in dynasty right now than
like
in
on your
redraft.
taxi squad or something.
Yeah, taxi squad god. His name is Lewis Bond, who is a late round draft pick this year. Um, haven't heard any buzz from him yet, but that's the kind of guy in dynasty that as soon as Higgins went down, I picked him up, stashed him on the taxi squad, and if I need a roster churn spot because of some need, I'll move him. But that's the guy that you want to keep in mind. The benefit of playing so much in dynasty is I kind of know who the long shot next guy up is long before the redraft crowd does, and it's Lewis Bond. He, what's his chance of being viable in fantasy football this year? It's probably in that 5 to 10% range. You'd probably have to lose Nico Collins,
Right.
uh, and and have more injuries to have him emerge. But he's certainly worth a late round or a waiver pickup in dynasty. Wouldn't touch him in redraft yet.
Yeah. Laporta had a hip injury, flared, so they don't know week one. I have not been taking a lot of Laporta just because of where he's going. I've been taking early or been dropping and looking for Kraft. And if I miss Kraft, then we're talking way late. Then I'm even
Yes.
maybe starting, Strange, Ferguson. I'm getting a collection late, Dennis, if I'm past Kraft at this
And
point.
there is no backup tight end with the Lions worth taking.
Yep.
It just, if Laporta misses time, that makes Jamison Williams a better start.
Or
Uh,
maybe even Gibbs gets a little bit more of a taste, and
Gibbs might
Amon
get
Ra
more of
might get
a,
some
yep,
more taste,
yep,
and
yep.
Tesla might get a taste.
Yes,
It
I
could
agree
be
with that.
spread. Then
I
what I'm
agree with
saying
that.
is it may not be all to, just the one. It may be spread a little bit, extra opportunity that's spread. I think that cake will be cut a little thin. I don't think I would be crazy to
No, no,
react.
no, I
In other
wouldn't
words,
be
I wouldn't
crazy.
go out and get Tesla just on this news.
No, no. And I have been trading in Dynasty. I've been trading away my Jamison Williams shares because I can get so much for him because he posted 1,000 yard season last year. Well, one of the reasons he was over 1,000 yards is Laporta missed a great deal of time. So I think there's a tick up for Jamison Williams, but I'm still not excited about him because
Right,
he's consistently inconsistent.
right. Good news is Mike Evans returned. He'd had some
Woohoo!
issues. CMC has tightness, so he's been limited. Boy, do we hate that or what? I do not. I do not have any CM. I'm probably the sucker once again at the table, Dennis. Hold the mirror to my own face because I have not. I have deliberately passed on him to go for like Sun God or even Taylor or Cook, somebody else. I have not been taking him.
I have exactly one share of CMC, and he has inspired an article that'll be coming out this week called Living on the High Wire.
Yeah, I could
Um,
see you living on the high wire.
because that's the way I feel about taking CMC. But my safe seven were gone.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to take a shot uh, at CMC, who I do have rated high. Like
Oh, our metrics love him.
our metrics love him, and our metrics even love him, Professor,
Yeah.
when you take as much as 20% of his
Off
volume.
his share, he's still very intriguing.
Take 20%. That's huge. Any other running back that you remove 20% of his volume,
Yeah.
it turns him from an RB1 into maybe a
So,
flex.
yeah.
With CMC, it takes him down from RB1 overall
Yeah.
to like RB5. Like he's still got that potential.
I wouldn't
But
even think about him till 9 or 10
yeah, I
now.
took him at
And
9. I
yeah,
took him at
that
9.
that would be to me, that's still optimistic. But
My
you know,
top 7, this was an unusual draft because my safe 7
mhm.
were gone, and so was Brock Bowers. And I
Yeah,
thought,
in
if
a
I
tight end
pass,
premium, I have
yep,
taken Bowers.
yep. And I thought if I pass on
At
Bowers
9 or 10, he has dropped on occasion.
and I thought I might be able to get McBride coming back in the early second,
Right.
and McBride went. So I tried to double up instead of
Mhm.
taking McBride, and I got caught.
Right.
But of course, later on in that draft, I grabbed Keelan Black.
Right.
So I've got a backup for McCaffrey, and I do think the Black is the right backup to have for
Mhm.
Christian McCaffrey.
So there's some other stuff. I don't know if we want to sit here, Dennis, but there's some other things people can read. But have you noticed, folks, and I want you to think about this, the news itself is a starting point for us to consider the whole thing, right? That's the whole part of it. When you're making a gumbo, you taste it and you add or you take away things or whatever. And so injuries and this kind of stuff should send you down decision trees and thinking about future drafts and your dynasty. It should really key all that. That's how I think you should react, not just, oh my God, I got to go grab somebody now. Like Laporta, he's out. Okay, oh my God. You cannot panic. You cannot waste waiver capital. You've got to be thoughtful, and I need to do an article on that thinking. But again, the debate of value versus ability, folks, you got to balance that, and I'm still trying to think about what that means. That whole concept. Like I said, I started looking out there and may have an article on that or not, just for me personally, trying to get that together. So that's how I would use this, Dennis. Do you want to go further down, Dennis? Is there any?
I think we hit the main
Yeah,
guys that are important, but head on over to scienceoffantasyfootball.com.
right,
Check out this article, folks. And the
right.
professor's right, 100% right. This is one of the reasons I love FFPC playing in
Mhm.
those leagues because I can't overreact. They don't run the first waivers until
Yes.
week 1, till
I
before
mean,
week 1
I'm in
season.
sleeper, Dennis. There's people, what the dude dropped Vidal,
Connie
and
Vidal, yeah.
and we're like, yeah, we'll take him as scrap. We'll get rid of our bottom guy to
Yes.
take a shot at him. Yeah,
Yes.
it's just crazy. People, it's like, what are you doing? I mean, you drafted these people for a reason, and now you made mistakes. I don't know. It's crazy. Some people just likes to. It's like a hot potato. They just, I got to do something. I got to do something. And a lot of times it's wrong. And you see that at the horse track. I got this money in my pocket. I guess I should be betting. Or, the hot dog man just tipped me here. I better go play. And you've told story, your dad, here, or your dad's friend, here's my money. Put it in your pocket. Don't let me have it. I mean, that is just money bankroll there. But
Yes.
ADP waiver wire, consider that it's your money. Your fab budget is your money. Be cautious with it. Don't just, go blow it and go it down there at the bar every Saturday night because you'll be out when you need it. So this is not the time to rethink crazy stuff. So think about how these uh, changes, there's injuries the next couple of weeks. Dennis, there's going to be some more. I don't know where. And, so far things have not hurt me too bad. And I think I had a Pearsall share somewhere. I'm going to have to get rid of him and Higgins. But when the waiver wire is open, I'll be finding somebody. I mean, there'll be a running back that is on the waiver wire that I'll pick up. I may churn him, but at least I want somebody there. So anyway, be cautious, be uh, greedy with taking, but at the right time. Okay, spend your money wisely. And so we're going to try to help you during the season. We'll try to help you pick up the dollar guys before they're $10 or $100 guys. We're going to try to do that. At least that's what we try to do.
We had
Is
some
use
success.
that.
We had some success doing that last
Yes, we
year.
did.
So we're not promising something that we haven't already been doing with
Yeah,
regularity the last couple of years because you are thinking ahead of the game. It is a probabilities game after all. You mentioned the racetrack.
yeah,
It's so different. Like a horse that I would bet at 20 to 1 or higher because he's got a shot.
right,
I'm not betting if he's 2 to 1. It's the same horse, it's the same race.
right,
The difference is the payoff per investment. And in fantasy football, this is the classic. You mentioned Tank Dell. Do I
right,
think Tank Dell is going to finish the season in my MVP metrics, having played 10 or more full games and be at an MVP level that would have him as a guy that is a must start every week?
right.
No, I don't believe that. But I do think that if you had injuries on your team and you are looking for a starter at wide receiver or your last flex, and you've got bye week concerns, and Houston is in a favorable matchup, I'll put Tank Dell in that lineup with confidence. That's why I'm willing to put him on my roster. You're talking about WR6. I put him in my WR5 spot
Yeah,
with a team that is loaded with the top four. It's all about probabilities. You're chasing the probability of success. If he's got any probability of success, that's
right.
a guy that you're willing to take late in a draft because as drafts go on,
Hmm.
you're not going to hit on every pick
Hmm.
after the 12th round.
Right,
But from 12 to 18, I'm taking 7 players, right?
right,
If I hit on 2 of those 7,
right. Pretty good.
my team is looking really good. Like
Yeah,
I've now increased my chances and I know I'll hit 2 out of 7. That we
right.
have a good batting average on our late picks of hitting 1 or 2 of those 7 in every single draft. we will occasionally hit 3 or 4. That's when you know you got a winning team. But it's all about thinking in probabilities. And I don't know if people in fantasy football really do that enough, because when you ask them what you want every week minimum
Right.
from your RB1, they'll tell
Yeah.
you 15 points or higher. Some will say 20.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen every week, folks.
No.
It all comes down to understanding the probability game versus ADP.
And let me make it simple in a gaming context. You gamble pennies to win dollars. You don't gamble
Yes.
dollars to win pennies. And so that applies at the track, that applies everywhere. And so if you're going in to play the slots, you're going to lose, but you don't take, if you want to have fun, you play the 25, 10, the penny slots. That's fine. I mean, as long as you know you're going to lose. But that's how I try to think about it. So to me, low ADP picks 12 to maybe 18, Dennis. I'm probably getting about four of those are RBs, maybe a late tight end or a QB if I've waited that late. But most of all, it's probably four RBs, maybe two WRs that on a typical thing. So I'm gambling on my ADP cash, as it were, that if I can get one of that four, Dennis, the Ray Prices of the world, if Cook goes down, or Coleman, yeah, in Minnesota, if Dobbins is hurt, or, Aaron's hurt, or somebody's hurt, or, you just, you got something there. You got more than you paid. And that's kind of the concept. I have an article. I just wanted to hit this chart, Dennis, and we'll go to the winner's curse, which is the kind of a graduate level aspect of probability. It's called Win Therapy in Fantasy Football, Thinking in Probabilities. And folks, this is not something that comes naturally. Like I said, we are built to, if the leaves are shaking, you're going up the tree, or, the weeds are moving. Is that a saber tooth going to chew on you, or is that the wind? Our ancestors went up the tree. Our ancestors that died stuck their head in the weed. What is that noise? And the saber-toothed cat bit the head. I've saved that a lot. The fight or flight is the response that's, and you see that in the stock market. The stock market's down, people going crazy. And and you can see that. Here's the thing, Dennis, for stock market, if you look at a company that always has good evaluations and good profit every year, and if they miss a year, people panic over another company that's up a few years, then it's down a few years, they're back up, they're back down. That doesn't cause as much a ruckus as something like Walmart is always steady, and then all of a sudden Walmart lost money. People would be going crazy on Walmart and be, selling, and it's the sky's falling. We are built for that fight or flight, Dennis. And like I said, using the injuries, Laporta's hurt for the week. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to get rid of somebody and, try to, and you start just going and you get going and you start chewing and it starts thinking and you're not sleeping at night, or, here we go. You just, having crazy nightmares. And I mean, if you're like me, that's just, that's fantasy season. My wife has to make me sleep on the couch because I wake up. Oh my God, Laporta's hurt. Oh my God. So anyway, but Dennis, what this shows is what our metrics. We try to look at consistent players. So the profile of a consistent player could be in blue. Notice most of the time, and let's say it's 15 fantasy points per game. Here's the dotted line. And for whatever, and maybe I don't know what part of the draft this person's from. This is just generic showing you something. It looks like his average is closer to 12. So that's probably about an average play is about 12 per week. That's kind of where this is sitting. But about 40% of the time he's above, 15 and above. That's good. And everything's really tracking down pretty good. And notice that the floor is about what? Worst case, like 1 out of 100 chance they're getting 5, but most of the time they're getting 8 to 10. So you're most likely on most weeks getting what, around 20 to 10. Here's a high variance player. Some weeks I'm getting 0, Dennis. Some weeks I
Go.
might get 40. Oh my God, that sounds like Tyler Lockett back in the day or somebody. And notice that most of the time is way past. It's probably average of 10. I want my average to be closer to 12. And I like this narrow range of outcomes, Dennis. Look at the range here for this high variance player. So I know every player is different, Dennis, and this is obviously just a lesson here. You have to think about players. So in your drafts, part of what we do, Dennis and I use our metrics, we kind of want this kind of player late in the draft, not this kind of player, unless in best ball, we deliberately hunt for the 40 players, once a season or twice, that can be interesting too. Depends on the bench size, right? If you have a short bench, this is even harder to carry. And it shows if you overlap here, different variants, same mean, look at the difference. Look at almost half the time, look at where the boom bust player is on your team, Dennis. You're mad, you're angry, you're never starting them again. And all of a sudden, rut row, they did a 30.
Boom.
And then
Yeah.
you put them back on, and guess where they're at again? They're at 5. And you're going crazy. And if you look at this and if you do simulations, and we're starting to do a little bit of that Monte Carlo simulations on players. We've actually got some latest metrics where we've got simulations as part of our metrics now. We'll see how all this goes. But this is what, when people talk about variance and boom bust, this is what I try to visualize, Dennis. I don't know what people are trying, a pop balloon. I don't know what they're thinking, but this is what I'm thinking, and this is how I try to visualize probability.
Yeah, and all of our metrics are more than just consistency, folks. They're
No, yeah, yeah, yeah,
looking
yeah.
at weekly upside consistency. The addition of that word upside is the key because all of our metrics give a big reward for being way to the right on this curve. And they punish you for being too far to the left. If my ideal player is the one who maybe once a year
Mhm.
will fall under 5 points, 5 or less, one time all season long.
Well, that's not
Maybe
this player in orange,
it's
Dennis.
not this player in orange. The,
No.
the player in orange is a Jamison Williams type who,
Yep.
when everybody is healthy, he'll give you 0, 1, 3, 0, 45.
Yep.
Like, and you get so frustrated because you're like, oh, he's gonna finally put it all together this season. So you start him week 1, you lose. You start him week 2 because you're like, oh, he just had a bad week. Week 3, you start thinking, but you're like, I drafted him too early. I got to put him in there at least as my flex. Still does nothing for you. Finally, by week 4, you're 0-3, and you're like, I'm had it with this guy, and he's got a tough matchup. Well, sometimes those players do well in a tough matchup because the other more logical guys that would be thrown to are not thrown to. And all of a sudden he pops that 40 points on your bench. Now you're pissed 4 weeks in a row, and you're probably 0-4 as well by that time. And when you're losing in fantasy football is when you start pressing because you're like, oh, now I got to make a big move. I got to
Or
get a
you
guy who's
post on Twitter, this is all luck anyway.
all luck
Nobody,
anyway.
nobody
Yeah, there
can
you go.
win at this game. Yeah. It's all
But,
luck.
but that's why we try to avoid the huge boom bust guys in redraft, in set lineup dynasty, in best ball. Give me all upside all the time. I don't care if the guy scores 0 or 3. I just want to cash in when he scores 40. That's a best ball mentality. We've got to do a better job of separating the best ball mentality from the redraft mentality.
Anyway, Dennis, this article is way behind. So, uh, who has the best ADP projection for draft? No. What player improves my roster outcome distribution? So, anyway, this article probably should be two articles, folks. I'm just showing you. And basically, nobody has read this. Okay, nobody pays attention. Old professor, he's so sad. And that's fine. You know, most people that probably should read this won't, and some people should read that read this shouldn't read it because they'll get more confused. But anyway, let me change to the winner's curse. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And it's continuing with this concept and probability a little bit, but it's auction theory and decision science. What I found, and Dennis is quite aware that I like to understand game theory, decisions under chaos, psychological issues that are part of my whole game, my toolbox, my handicapper's toolbox, Dennis. We loved, was it Rich Pearl? Who was it that had the handicapper's toolbox? It was a great, he'd be on Tuesdays on TVG.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
remember him? And he'd have some great discussions. Anyway, this is part of our toolbox. You can check this article out. But anyway, in the 1970s, people were bidding for oil rights in Mexico. And turned out that on average, when they looked at the winners, they had overestimated the true value of the oil rights. So they bought losers more than they thought they did. Okay, so that's an issue. So the best ones have to be aware of that, and so that is not just in oil. The object being bid has to have common value. Everybody has to believe it's worth something. And does that sound like fantasy? Yes. Bidders have noisy, that means a lot of variation, private estimates of that value. So everybody comes to the draft room with different estimates. Maybe they bought the estimates with cheat sheets, whatever. It's different. There's a lot of variation. And the rule awards the object to the player willing to claim it at a certain price, right? At an ADP price. And the act of winning reveals that other ones didn't think it was, especially in auction, probably, which I've never done. But a lot of times you just get lucky that the player is when you're on the draft here. But a demonstration guy was, these behavioral economics guys did that, and he had a jar filled with pennies, and it was $2 worth of pennies, Dennis, and he auctioned it off, and the winning student paid $5 for $2 of pennies. It's like, man, I need to do that all the time. So he was not the best estimator, The student was the most optimistic. And so there's a math, don't worry about the math. Hell, I'm not sure I could figure out that math. But what happens is you need to value, it's called shading, and to understand that overpayment is probably happening. Bid is if you already know you will win, and rational bidders anticipate this is probably overvalued and try to balance it all out. And so in redrafts, you're doing the same thing. And so uh, there's some math here. You can check this out. But what was found, and this is the question I wanted, where do we have to worry about this overvaluing? And Dennis, remember the dead zone? Guess what?
Ooh.
Where the overvalue happens in our drafts, folks, this is everybody. This is not just you or me. It's everybody as a collective. It's right in the middle. Estimated rounds 5 to 10. The dead zone is right there. And notice that the variance here and probably the value is all overestimated. And notice here at the late end, you don't have it's pennies, Dennis, for nice outcomes occur at
Yeah.
this point. Early in the draft, you're paying dollars for sure things. And Dennis has said this more than once, and it's better than zero. I'm hearing his voice in my head now of how he wants to leave the first 3 or 4 rounds. And but Dennis, this alerts us that we got issues here, and everybody talks about this dead zone, but they never put it in this context. I may I may be the first to have done that and fused all this together, folks, and have it drafted in our draft. Here it is. This is the danger. So I think at best, if you're just hearing this now, at best, the best you can do is probably just don't take as much loss as other players are. You heard Stribling. He's going what, in the eighth now?
Eighth and
Dennis,
nine.
they're
Yep.
yeah, I'm telling you, they have moved him into the dead zone and maybe the overvalued here, and people are paying too much. So I want to be dead sure here. I want to have lots of gamble pennies for dollars here. And here I want to try to take as little beating. Notice I'm probably still getting paying too much for value overall, but at least if I can stay close, maybe these other sectors will help me. So at least that's how I'm interpreting this now, Dennis. And I talk about there's some math behind this and countermeasures, and there's you can go into that. Uh, in other words, in the middle rounds, demand a path to a tier jump or avoid. Just don't do it. Don't reach for Stribling in round 7. You're like, man, Stribling's hot. Everybody's grabbing him in the 8th. I guess I better jump too. This is saying don't do unless you've got an ironclad story of why you should jump in round 6 and 7 to get Stribling, who's going in the 8th, and you may miss him. You shouldn't tier jump at that round. That's the ice is thinnest in the dead zone, Dennis.
One
And
one
yeah, go ahead.
one one piece of research that we have done that I think will make us better drafters in the
Mm-hmm.
dead zone. Notice I didn't say great drafters in the dead
Mm-hmm.
zone. The dead zone's real, folks. The data is the data. The data shows that even at your most optimistic, you're going to make some mistakes
You're
in that
overpaying.
you're
You're buying.
overpaying.
You're buying underlays.
But here's where two concepts that we have worked on and understanding these two concepts really pays off. So we understand that the biggest improvement in a player's performance is from year 1 to year 2.
Yes.
Year 2, year 3 is still going to go up. Year 3 to year 4, that increase starts waning a bit.
It sure does.
So by year 3, you pretty much know what you've
What you
got in a
got?
player. So drafting a player in that 5th through 10th zone who's been at it for 4 or 5 years in the league and has never produced an implied MVP index equal to his ADP, you are setting yourself up for failure because that player has already told you with the data who he is. The percentage of players that suddenly have a jump into being relevant after being irrelevant for 4 or 5 years is a very small pool to be fishing in. The number of rookies or second year guys
Mm-hmm.
or second to third year guys, so those first 3 years of a player's rookie, you don't know what you got.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very reluctant to take a rookie in the first 4 rounds. Even if he's a highly drafted rookie, I don't want to add any more uncertainty because in that first 4 rounds pool, there are a lot of good choices to make. It's why I don't like Ashton Giante at his MVP or at his current ADP, and I'm okay about missing on him if he's a superstar because there's other good choices to make right there. Doesn't mean I won't pick him 10th or 11th or 12th or early second round. It just means I'm not picking him before that because he's not the value there. But I will take a chance on a Carnell Tate in that middle round, 5 to 10 round thing because he's a rookie. He could be fabulous right out of the box. A lot of those players in that same ADP zone have already shown you who they are. And they might be a flex 2 guy for several
Which
weeks
has
here,
their place in
which
your,
has their place on your roster.
yeah,
And you have to make those, you have to have some of those ordinary players.
especially
But
in, bye weeks and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
you got to have that. But expecting them to be a starter in your lineup every day,
Yeah.
I want to take some swings there
Yeah.
because I already know I'm going to be wrong in that 5th through 10th. Why not take the best upside chance you have so your mistakes will be offset by a big reward?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at that.
Yeah, and I think this is what they're saying. And at the end, it said you're going to have overpays, but if you have fewer than everybody else, you probably have an advantage in getting to the playoffs.
And
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 you
maybe
should assume that if they're going in this area, that they're probably what their value is probably pretty much locked in, unless there's some good story why they need to be. And Dennis has a good story for the rookies in year 2. So there is some data that supports that. So one might, even if you're doing a cheat sheet, Dennis, make sure you know the rookies and what Dennis and I do. But I'm just saying the where there's potential, it's rare. There's not a whole bunch, and it's best to assume if they're round 5, they're there for a reason versus, oh, everybody's a fool. I'm the smart one, right? You're the sucker to tables. What this is saying that if you buy him, that player, you're getting the winner's curse. So read this again.
yeah. And
And
here's a
if you don't notice, reaches without edge are curse. What
yes.
that means, that edge is what private means. That's secret sauce that Dennis and we are creating private edges that we think people don't know and see, and we have an estimate. And so we're proceeding, maybe stupidly so, but we're proceeding that our metrics tell us something. All I can say is past ROI says we're doing something right. But you always wonder, folks. I know it's a new year. Who knows? But that's you got to have some knowledge, or I would you shouldn't play fantasy. If this worries you too, don't play. Or if you think it's all luck, don't play. Of course, if you think it's all luck, you're not listening to us, Travis Math. Come on, come on. Anyway, there's great lessons here. I think it's one of the best articles I've done as far as material. Maybe not the sharpest old professor article, but it's just something that you need to at least deal with and understand. I'm giving you the knowledge that there's a minefield here. You're in it. Just what are you going to do about it? I'm telling you, there it is. Versus beforehand, maybe you didn't know this. You didn't know there was a minefield there. You just thought, well, this looks good, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
The hot dog man told me to draft this guy. What?
when
And so anyway,
when a group of soldiers in World War II, before, usually didn't have a mine detector, you know, device with them in every unit, when they would realize that they walked into a minefield, which was usually because somebody got blown up,
yeah,
they would they would meticulously mark each spot that was safe and walk towards that spot and then exit to the next safe spot. Like, you've got to understand, if you're in a minefield, you've got to do something different to change your odds of surviving that minefield. And what I'm interested to do with this research, Professor,
yeah,
because that was run for all positions, correct?
yes, yeah,
I
as
w-
is
I
positional.
want I want to see this same research done position by position,
Yeah,
because what I'm curious to see is, quite often in drafts, when I run out of players in that fifth through sixth round or fifth through 10th round period of a draft,
right.
when I run out of guys that I like at a particular spot, that's when I go shopping for quarterbacks and tight ends.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, my hypothesis says, because of where they are typically drafted
right.
in fantasy football, if the dead zone won't be different
Yeah, for
for
quarterbacks
quarterbacks and
and
tight ends
tight
than the
end
whole
and
population. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm interested to see what that breakdown would be
yeah.
by position. So I've given you more
Yeah,
work.
well, trouble is I don't have another month of fun time, Dennis. My fun
No, but
time is
this
coming, and now it becomes drudgery every week. Here we go.
but this is something that we definitely, we keep our player diary. We also keep a
Yep,
diary on studies that we need to follow up on. This is the scientific method too, folks. Everything you discover is great, but it leads you to more
of questions. Yeah,
questions than, you don't just get an answer and it's done.
nope.
You get an answer and it leads you to other questions that lead us to other answers, and so on and so on. But head on over to the scienceoffantasyfootball.com. Check out the winner's curse. If you only read one more article between today and when you are drafting your next team, look at the winner's curse. I had to go through it a couple of times before I totally got it. But that chart
Yeah,
tells you
that's
exactly where that dead zone is. It's real. The dead zone is real, but utilize it to your advantage. I would much rather have a young player or an old player that somebody has already written off because of age. A Mike Evans, a Devontae Adams. Oh, they've got to get worse, right?
right.
They're going in that fifth through 10th round dead zone. What if they don't get worse? They've already produced top 2 round performance in their last 3 seasons. Devontae Adams was a top 10 wide receiver last year.
Yep.
Evans is a top 10 guy when he's healthy. Wouldn't I rather take that swing in the fifth round than go for maybe a Terry McLaurin who has been good but not great? Yeah, I'll put McLaurin on my team if some of these other guys are done. But his best MVP index is nowhere near. It's 30 points below Mike Evans. It's 30 points below what Devontae Adams has done in their last couple of years. I'm not going to, why not invest in the better guy? And that's what that dead zone to me is all about. It's not saying that Terry McLaurin is a bad football player or anybody else from that 5th through 10th. It's just saying put the odds to your favor by having a reason to draft a guy, young player on the way up, or an old guy that's been written off. And if you take that mentality, that dead zone is turned into an advantage for you instead of
Advantage zone.
it's an advantage zone. But it doesn't mean you're going to hit on all of them. But if you hit on one or two more guys than your opponents, you are going to win. So check out the winner's curse. Check out all of the articles from the professor. They have been fascinating, and he's only shared some of them with me, folks, and some of those are even more fascinating. But we don't want to smarten up all the chumps, just those
Dennis,
who are
be
kind enough
sweet.
to listen to us.
Be
And
sweet.
head on over to the sports affiliation. Check out all the cool podcasts that they've got going on over there. The Thursday Check Down and the Aces Up are two of my favorite shows. And head on back here next week for another edition of the Science of Fantasy Football.
Get to work, folks.